Good morning, YouTube pipe community. I have not done a video in quite a while. I'm still deciding whether I'm comfortable with this medium or not, so bear with me. This may or may not be the start of a series of regular or irregular Sunday rambles. Notice how I couched that. If someone else is using Sunday Ramble, I apologize. I didn't mean to lift it. But that's what it feels like. Try not to make this too long. Just for the record, smoking my dad's custom built, which I think is would count as a Lavat. Got the long shank and short stem, slight bend of the stem, which I like very much. Very nice pipe. And in it, I am smoking velvet. I've never had velvet before. In fact, I'm spending the weekend with velvet to get to know it. And that's actually what I wanted to talk about today. I'm enjoying it. Not as sweet as I thought it was going to be. It's lacking one ingredient that has become a favorite of mine, namely maple flavor. I've been smoking a lot of, and a variety of brands of maple aromatics. And I love them. I'm smoking Sutliffs. Sutliff has a few. One adds vanilla, one adds walnut. There's even one with rum, which I haven't tried. I'm not big on rum, but just straight with Cavendish. I smoke Boswell's Maple Leaf. Boswell's Maple Leaf. I always get these mixed up. And Wilkie's Vermont Maple. I hope I don't have those reversed. I think that's right. They're all good. And of course I also love Cornell and Deal's Autumn Evening, which is maple. So I'm hooked on maple. Velvet has no maple, but it is still delicious. Velvet is one of those old styles that have been around a long time. Burley based, what we call drugstore blends, or well, you don't find them in drugstores anymore. These kinds of blends. OTC, they're sometimes called, or they've been lately called Codger blends. And one of the great advocates of this pipe tobacco, and I have to thank him for letting me know about it, is the Artful Codger, and I urge you to look up his channel, and particularly look up the little documentary he did. Very informative, very seriously done, and well done. Funny, but also seriously done. Documentary he did on the history of velvet. It's got quite a history. I really didn't know about velvet when I was growing up. My father was a pipe smoker, but velvet was not one of his blends. He smoked Granger, which I love. He smoked Briggs, I believe. Later on, I think Captain Black, which came along later than these. But velvet was just a package I never saw, and a word I hadn't heard in connection with pipe tobacco. So thank you, Artful Codger, for letting me know about this. Now, Artful Codger leads me into what was going to be my main thesis today for this ramble. And here's what it's about. There's a development on YPTC that I'm picking up, which I'm really pleased about. And I think of it as the young codger movement. You've heard of young Turks. Well, these are young codgers. The reason I call them young codgers is because of the few people who I think are identifying with this little caucus, most of them chronologically don't qualify as codgers, unlike me, unlike a few others I won't name. You know who you are, and if you watch their videos, you'll know who they are. But a couple of the main ones, Eric of the Blue Collar Pipe Smoker, He's no codger. He's a young guy. He's a codger in spirit. So there are spiritual codgers, and there are chronological spot codgers, and there are chronological spiritual codgers, because I assume there's some chronological codgers out there who don't regard themselves and don't act like spiritual codgers. So what's this all about? Well, I think it's an attempt to recapture maybe an earlier pipe smoking spirit. And that may be hard to characterize, but I'll just report how I'm thinking about it. Others might think about it differently. I can speak for no one but myself, of course. But we live in such an amazing time regarding pipe tobacco. I mean, despite all the bad stuff that's going on regarding the government and the loss of McClellan and the dicey situation regarding Dunhill and the Peterson blends, although it looks like those are going to be here, at least some of their blends, maybe not all of them. Despite all that little bit of turbulence, I mean, we are surrounded by a sea of pipe tobacco that is, despite the taxes on the state and federal level, still really are not that expensive. You can do very, very well, even with what are regarded as premium pipe tobaccos. I mean, and there's a variety that's just mind-blowing that would have blown the minds of my father and previous generations of pipe smokers. I mean, my gosh, between the aromatics and the non-aromatics and the various subcategories of non-aromatics, English, and then these definitions, of course, they're not firm, Balkan, Oriental, Turkish, and then Virginias of various kinds, and Virginia blends of various kinds, like Virginia Periques, Vapors, and then the absolutely mind-boggling variety of Burley blends, Cavendishes, and things like this. You can get lost very easily. I mean, there are a couple of companies out there that have so many blends you couldn't in a lifetime sample more than a small fraction of them. So it can be quite bewildering and also exciting. And YPTC is very valuable because it can help you navigate. What I believe the sort of codger movement is now doing is taking a step back and asking, again, it's a very subjective area, but asking whether in all this great new variety and experimentation, innovation in blends, all of which is a good thing, but maybe some of it causes us to lose sight of what pipe smoking was in sort of the golden era of pipe smoking, where you found a blend or two that you loved, and you just sat down with it on a regular basis, however many times a day you could do it, and just relaxed and enjoyed that old friend, that familiar blend that was consistent time after time. In my own experience, again, I can only speak from my own experience, but I watch a lot of YouTube channels and see people sometimes saying similar things. My own experience, I got distracted by all of the choice and selection. And not that I wish there was less choice and selection. I'm pro-choice. I'm pro freedom of choice, and I'm pro wide choice, because tastes differ so vastly, and it's a subjective thing, what your palate likes and what your palate doesn't like. There's no argument, as the old Latin saying goes, I'll say it in English, there's no disputing about taste in that sense. The palate likes what it likes, it wants what it wants. Nothing to be ashamed of. But by jumping around from blend to blend, one thing that happens when you do that is you don't really get to know a blend intimately, because you're always trying something new. We refer to this as tobacco acquisition disorder, where our favorite blend is always the next one. And the funny thing is, as soon as you get that, that's now part of your collection. It's old hat, right? and now you're looking for the next one, and that can go on forever. And you get to know, there's only so many hours in the day. You can only have so many smokes in a day. How do you get? It's like with pipes too, of course, but I'm not talking about pipes today. I'm talking about tobacco. How do you get to really know a tobacco if you're constantly bringing new blends into the corral, and you smoke a couple times, and then the next one's on the scene, and you end up with this lots of jars and lots of pouches and cans and tins, of unopened, either unopened or open stuff, and you don't know really any of it, and it's kind of bewildering. I don't mean this as any criticism of anybody. If you sort of like that thing, and people do that with beers and wines, I realize, and food, and other things, more power to you. It's what you enjoy. But in my case, and I have a feeling it's in the case of some of these other people, the ones especially calling themselves codgers, something was lost from the point of pipe smoking, which is the comfort, the security, like being among familiar friends rather than strangers. And nothing wrong with being among strangers. I love to meet new people and make new friends. But there's also something very valuable about the comfort and security of that old friend, tried and true, trusted friend, who you've known for years. And so this codger movement, if it's bringing our attention kind of back to that overshadowed or lost aspect, that's a really good thing, and I endorse it 100%. Lately, I said I've been smoking a lot of maple. I didn't consider myself an aromatic smoker since my early days of smoking, and I've been smoking. I like to put it, I've been smoking a pipe since the 1960s. I just can't keep the damn thing lit. But literally, I have been smoking since sometime in the 60s. My father introduced me to pipe smoking to keep me away from cigarettes, and that pretty much worked. I never was a cigarette smoker. Even when I pretended to smoke a cigarette, I say pretended because I didn't inhale. And I'd get menthols, at least I get a little minty flavor. I was never tempted by cigarettes, never. I don't even know how to inhale. I can't inhale, really. So I've been at this a while. There have been a few gaps. Often happens with people in smoking, where I went some time without doing any, and then but always returned. And then of late, last so many years, I've become more intensively interested in it, and that's where all the experimentation came with these new blends. But now I find myself coming back. I still love many premium blends. I'm a fan of a couple of the old McClellan blends, and I still have some on hand, McClellan Vapor and a few other things. And Peterson, I'm a big fan of Peterson's Wild Atlantic, a wonderful English blend. I'm a big fan of Dunhill's, my mixture 965 and Nightcap and Elizabethan mixture, and I'm glad those are coming back. I won't stop smoking those things. But I have a new appreciation of this older school, let's call it, old school tobacco. Maybe that's a term. I love Granger. My father smoked Granger, and Granger is just wonderful. Lately I've been smoking some half and half. I had the part of a pouch left over, which I put in a drawer, and I pulled it out, and I love it. I love Prince Albert, and have several pouches of that, and once went on the road and took only Prince Albert with me and smoked almost nothing but Prince Albert. It was great. I loved it. I haven't had Sir Walter Raleigh in quite a long time, but I suspect that if I got that, I would like that. So that's really what I wanted to say. Look, if you're interested at all in this, look up Eric, the Bluecollarpipesmoker. I hope I have his name right. Artful Codger and some of the others, Sergeant Savinelli, Patches 860, where you'll hear about some of these great classic blends. And give them a try if you overlooked them, if you downgraded them. They're inexpensive. That's another great advantage. And I should put a shout out to Sutliff, a company I've really come to love, because they've made a point of matching old blends. So a lot of these old blends aren't even available anymore. Sugar Barrel and a few others, which I'm going to be trying soon. Sutliff, you can find those at Pipes and Cigars in their great variety, has been matching these old blends. And so it gives you a chance really to relive those days. I mean, I haven't had the originals, a lot of them, so I can't tell you they're perfect matches, but my sense is that they are close, and they really give you a sense of what those blends were like in their heyday. So I'm going to close on one note. I plan to be blogging about this at my blog, A Hobby Not a Habit, and which you can find at hobbynothabit.blog. I haven't blogged a little lately, so if you went there today, you wouldn't see anything terribly new. But I'm going to get back to it. And here's one thing I am planning to blog about. I wanted to say something about burley, because these a lot of these drugstore blends are burley-based blends. Burley with maybe a little bit of flavoring, maybe some Virginia or something else in there. They're not the pure Cavendish, heavily flavored, like a lot of aromatics are, and which, in my view, sort of give aromatics a bad name. It's a burley, and since I'm enjoying these, it's raised a question for me. How come these burleys are so comfortably mild? And I don't mean that as a put down. They're just nice to read, nice tobaccos for when you're reading or just thinking, because they don't interfere. They just give you a nice flavor, nice comforting flavor and feeling, but they don't interfere. They don't intrude because they're not complex and multi-layered, and getting you thinking, oh, what was that I just tasted? That's interesting. What could that be? I mean, sometimes you might want a blend like that, but other times you don't want it to be interfering. It's like music. You may have music on in the background while you're reading. It can be very nice, but if it's a music that keeps drawing your attention, you got to think about it. That may not be what you want at that time. So my question is, why are some burleys like that and other burleys hit you over the head with a sledgehammer? Now, they're very fine tobaccos, and they're very flavorful. I've had a bunch of them. They're mouth-watering. A lot of them come from Cornell and Deal. But at the same time, honestly, and again, speaking for my own palate, that's all I can speak for, they can be harsh. They can be so rich in flavor that they overwhelm you. It's like when you eat a really, really rich dessert, you have a couple bites and you say, oh, I can't have any more of that. You'll probably know what that's like. It's like too much, for me, at least. And then the other thing on top of that I find is the nicotine hit. Now, some people like that. I don't. I'm not a nicotine fiend. I don't want the nicotine buzz, but some of these go beyond a buzz or a hit or a kick. I've smoked high quality tobaccos from big reputable companies, which I respect entirely, that have made my head spin, my stomach churn, and my knees and legs wobble. And I'm not exaggerating. I've needed to lie down. If I'd been driving, I would have had to pull over. I don't smoke in my car. And the funny thing about that is when that would happen, I wouldn't give up on the tobacco. Sometimes I'd put it away, but I'd come back to it. And and I found myself thinking this, and I think it's a little odd. I found that tobacco a challenge. I needed to beat that tobacco. Oh yeah, it's gonna give me a nick hit that really puts me away. I'll show it. I'm gonna overcome it and challenge it. And I keep coming back to it, thinking, okay, this time I will be the master of it. And guess what? I rarely was. So much depended on how rested I was and when I last ate and what I last ate. And if I was the least bit, I don't know, weak or vulnerable, pow, right in the face. But I kept coming back. Now I'm wondering, why am I trying to beat a tobacco? It's not a macho thing. Tobacco's not supposed to be about a challenge. It's supposed to be about relieving stress and relaxing. And so I call Burley the Jekyll and Hyde of pipe tobacco, because it can be comforting and relaxing, or it can hit you over the head and grab you by the throat. Now, your taste is going to differ, so experiment and see what you like. I'll stop there. I've gone on too long. I hope you'll leave me some comments. I'll probably come on and say more about this. I'm really excited about the Codger movement. I won't call it the Young Codger movement because they wouldn't let me in. I'm not young. I got a birthday coming up in December, and there's a 0 at the end of it, and it's not a 6 and it's not an 8, so you can guess. Anyway, I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye. Visit my blog,